Welcome to another Lunch and Learn from ALP Valuation Services. Today, we're going to be talking about recovery strategies in tenant closures for commercial properties. So here's the scenario. A tenant in a commercial property has ceased operations, and the landlord wants to return to a cash flowing scenario. So as a real estate agent or other advisor, here are some questions we're going to talk about today. Number one, how do you maximize the value that can be obtained through assets left behind, or to more quickly return to cash flow through finding a new tenant, and how you as an advisor or person working in this field can set yourself apart from other people that you might be competing with in order to get business from that landlord. So in understanding the value of assets when businesses close, the very first thing we have to understand is that the timeline and operational status of the business is critical in understanding what the stuff is worth. And so I put this chart up on the screen here. On the left-hand side, you'll see two categories, one for abundant time and one for limited time. And on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's certain values that we use when we're talking about a business that is open versus a business that is closed. And so, um, the key to understanding the options for any equipment or trade fixtures in a vacant unit and their values is this timeline and the operational status of the business, and how we can resolve issues with lenders and other lien holders. So, for example, when a business closes, if they owed money to the bank and some of the equipment was collateral for that loan, there may have to be a resolution with other competing lien holders on these assets. And this is where a machinery and equipment appraisal comes into play, because in the scenario of a closed business and limited time, meaning that the landlord wants to get back to cash flow and is going to be signing a lease with somebody else, what that means is that at that moment the equipment is worth it's probably at its lowest point. So we're looking at forced liquidation value or liquidation value in place. Once that resolution has occurred, and maybe the landlord now is the legal owner of those assets, then they can actually hold a different kind of value for other parties. So let me get into that here on the next screen. So what kinds of options then exist after that point? Well, we could lease the location to a new tenant and get a higher lease rate because we're going to include those assets as part of the chattels that just come with the location. And so having an appraisal that shows the fair market value of the equipment could be very useful in quantifying that higher lease rate that's going to be presented to a new potential tenant. The other option that exists is to simply sell these assets to the new tenant. Now, these assets were probably acquired either through terms in the lease because maybe there was non-payment of rent, or penalties for cancellation of the lease without notice as the business closed or something like that. And so the landlord probably got these pieces of equipment for next to nothing or for very little, or through some small resolution with an outside lien holder. But they're worth quite a different value to somebody starting a new business in that location. To them, it may actually, those things may be worth fair market value, which means that there's a potential here for a profit move on the part of the landlord, which can help recover, rent that may not have been collected from a failing business if that was the scenario at hand. Additionally, the equipment could be sold and removed from the location. And again, depending on the timeline, so if there's ample time for this, or because the location has not been rented out, or if the items can be removed to another location the landlord might own, then there's a potential there to get orderly liquidation or even fair market value for the equipment. Again, another arbitrage scenario for profitability. So there's actually 5 more strategies that we put together in this guide for real estate agents, called Rental Revenue Rescue, which talk about different ways that a real estate agent can help a landlord return to profitability or earn money from a vacant location that's resulted from a tenant closing up a business. And so if you want to learn more about machinery and equipment appraisal, and you haven't already, I'd suggest signing up to our email list. You're going to receive this free guide, The Essentials of Machinery and Equipment Appraisal, Unlocking True Asset Value. It discusses the different definitions of value, when they come into play, when you can use a machinery and equipment appraisal, all kinds of different things. Specifically for real estate agents who join the list, we have this special report, Rental Revenue Rescue, which specifically talks about opportunities for commercial real estate agents. Again, when you sign up for the email list, this is sent to you. And when there's a third guide that's also sent to you, which is all about putting a price on a small business and how we determine the value of a small business and figure out the value of goodwill in a business. You can sign up for the email list and learn all kinds of other information by looking at our frequently asked questions page over at BusinessAndAssetValues.com. And we encourage you to pick up the phone, give us a call with your questions, send us an email, what have you. More than happy to spend some time talking with you about your particular circumstance or a situation that a client may be in that we might be able to help you out with.